Hey writers, welcome back to my channel. Once upon a time I was taking a writing course and the teacher asked us about our characters and asked us if they were likable. And she defined likability as this: would you have them over for dinner? Who cares? I'm reading a book. I don't care if they'd come over for dinner.
I have been promising for a long time that I would talk about this likability question. I look for in a character is not if they're likable or if they make a good dinner guest or if they have good manners or know which fork to use for the salad. I am interested if they are interesting. Full stop. End of story. But let's break this down and let's talk about this in very specific and easy to digest terms in regards to the different kinds of characters. There's a school of thought that you need 3 things to make a great, interesting character. Likeability, which is having qualities that bring about favorable regard, pleasant, agreeable, the most likable character in play. Agency, which is a person or thing through which power is extended or achieved. And competence, the ability to do something well, the quality of state of being competent. So basically what this means for your character is they need to have these 3 abilities in fluctuation. However, if you have a person that has all of these abilities, that character is going to be very boring and not very likable, even though you've already established that they are likable. And the reason is because nobody likes a know-it-all who can do everything and who everybody likes. It's just nobody likes that. It's not relatable. Relatable. And it's also not interesting. However, so let's break this down. So what do I mean by these characters that I am talking about? A classic hero comes from a humble beginnings. They have their greatness foreshadowed, they have a strong ability, an emotional quest, and they have a battle with pride and face death. So a classic hero, like a Harry Potter. Harry has a lot of agency. His actions drive the story. And he is likable. We like him. He's a nice guy. But he's not very competent. Hermione is much more competent than Harry, and he gets a lot of stuff wrong. And we like that about Harry. I recall, spoilers, that he, in book 5, if he had just checked to see where Sirius was, the whole climax of that book wouldn't have happened. It was very incompetent of him to forget about his mirror that he shared with Sirius. Ponyboy from The Outsiders is another classic hero. He has likability and he has some agency, but not much, but he definitely isn't very competent. So that is another way of having that story play out. And another classic hero is Molly, my girl Molly from Fargo season 1. I love her. She's very likable, she's very competent, but her agency doesn't drive the story. You can talk more about writing and how it works with this video here. A hero is a person placed in extraordinary circumstances who acts in a heroic way, but they lack the talents of a classic hero. Think about fairy tales definitely in this, and Elisa Maza in Gargoyles, 90s cartoon, which I highly recommend. She is likable and competent, but her actions don't really drive the story. The story is driven by the gargoyles and by Xanatos, and if you want to know more about Xanatos' gambit, you can have a look at that video. A superhero is the classic hero or the every hero, but they're given a superhuman gift or power, like Wolverine or Captain Marvel would be a classic hero that is then given that superhero strength, whereas Spider-Man would be an every hero who then becomes the superhero. Character when we're talking about the superhero, my boy Wolverine, I love him. Not very likable, but extremely competent and has a lot of agency. Similarly, Captain Marvel. But this, we get a lot of conversation. We don't really fault Wolverine for not being likable, but for some reason, we talk about this, and this is where we come into the idea of Mary Sue. Tragic hero. This is probably the most classic after the classic hero, is the tragic hero. And there are a lot of things that they have to have, like their tragic flaw, the hubris or extreme pride. They have to have a reverse of fortune in their story, a critical discovery. They have a nemesis or fate that can't be changed, and there's catharsis in the tone of the story for the reader. Shakespeare did this beautifully, but also Cowboy Bebop's Spike definitely had this trait. My boy Spike. Talk about a tragic story. Very likable, very competent, but no agency. Tragic hero generally has very little agency, and except when you're talking about the femme fatale. She isn't likable, but she has a lot of agency, but she is often punished for her actions. And how I talk about Cowboy Bebop and the femme fatale in this video kind of breaks that down. An epic hero is someone of noble birth, and their vast travel are an unmatched warrior skill, but they see humility in our epic hero. Now, I know he's a superhero, but he doesn't follow the superhero arc in that he doesn't have a super ability. It is his, and by him I mean Batman, ability to use his brain that makes him an epic hero. And I'm going to break Batman down as an epic hero in an upcoming video, so subscribe. An anti-hero. Now, the anti-hero needs a story all their own. This is a central character who looks conventional and has heroic attributes, but they're closer to villains. The author does not intend the audience to admire their character. Jay Gatsby, Holden Caulfield, Scrooge, Alex Delarge, Villanelle, Amy Doon, and Nancy from Weeds. So when we break these down into this idea of likability, we can see that the further down the list we go, the less likable the character becomes. And I feel like this likability thing is a bit of a trap in that when we have somebody who's likable and has agency, we tend to look down on them a little bit, and we don't enjoy it. Check out my videos on breaking down the plot of Gone Girl and Fight Club in this video, and then I also look at Killing Eve for how to create a compelling plot using following actions, such as because of that and until rather than and then. But I think what makes a character interesting is if you go back to story grid and those ideas of genre. Their strength needs to be tied to the theme, and it needs to be both their strength and their fatal flaw, depending on how they use that gift. And so when Ponyboy's emotional heart gives him strength to be a great character, but it also puts him in danger. Harry Potter has great courage, but he's also reckless. Molly is a great detective, but she's a woman. And we're going to break these down one by one in upcoming videos. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. See you next time, and keep writing.
Like, I might be a little bit nuts, but I would have chops and marble for dinner. I think she'd be a good house guest. And I'd have Logan over for dinner too, but just a couple. I'd have Spike Spiegel over for dinner. Poor guy. I just want to feed him. Oh, that's so sad. I think I'd have Batman over for dinner, but as Bruce Wayne. And maybe leave the utility belt at home. But no, I would not have a single anti-hero over for dinner. I would not have Amy Dunn over for dinner. I would not have Nancy from Weeds over for dinner. I would not have Villanelle over for dinner. And I would certainly not have Scrooge over for dinner unless he was post-story Scrooge. I would have post-story Scrooge over for dinner. I think the Cratchits were okay there. But no, would not have them over for dinner. So they're not likable at all. Not likable. So why do we love them? Interesting. Because they're interesting. And how are they interesting? Their flaws and their strengths are two sides of the same coin.